for answering the question. Senator Milne.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Finance and Deregulation and the Minister representing the Treasurer, Senator Wong. Noting the comments of Senator Cameron this morning agreeing with the Greens that Australian children are being forced into poverty because of the government's decision
Just wait a minute, Senator Milne. Just resume your seat. You are entitled to be heard in silence. Order. On my right, Senator Milne is entitled to be heard in silence. Senator Milne, continue.
Thank you, Mr President. As I was saying, noting Senator Cameron's comments supporting the Greens about Australian children being forced into poverty because of the government's decision to move single parents from the single-parent payment to Newstart, can the minister confirm reports that the government has ruled out increasing Newstart by $50 a week and reversing the cuts to single parents in the upcoming budget? And if so, can the minister explain how this decision represents the Labor values so eloquently described by Senator Cameron?
The Minister for Finance and Deregulation and the Minister representing the Treasurer, Senator Wong.
Thank you, Mr President. Well, we are a party that does believe in fairness and in opportunity. And unlike the Greens, we also understand that you have to grow an economy. You have to grow the economy if you are to deliver the sorts of fairness and opportunity that this government is delivering. And whilst I suspect Senator Milne may not like to be reminded, this is an economy that is 13% bigger than it was prior to the global financial crisis. I mean, there's not a lot of fairness in economies which are still smaller than they were prior to the GFC, economies which are still struggling to get back to the same size, and more importantly, economies with double-digit unemployment. Because let's remember, well, I'll take the interjection because the suggestion is from the economic Luddite opposite that somehow Australia is akin to Greece. Yet you're talking down of the economy from Senator Brandis, who believes pomposity equates to intelligence. Well, it doesn't. Pomposity doesn't equate to intelligence. What he might like to be reminded of is the 800,000 jobs that have been created since we were elected, at a time where millions and millions of people worldwide have lost their jobs. And if you want to look at what flies absolutely in the face of fairness, what increases poverty and inequity, it is high levels of unemployment. That is why we on this side have made jobs and economic growth a priority. In terms of taxation and those issues that were alluded to in the first part of the question, I would make this point. This government has made tax relief, particularly for working people in this country, a priority. We have Australians. Well, I remind Senator Betts might like to joke about this.
Time's expired. Senator Milne.
Thanks, Mr President. And I notice that the minister has not answered the question about whether she's ruling out increasing Newstart by $50 a week in the budget. But I ask, according to Senator Cameron referencing former Prime Minister Bob Hawke, that it is a Labor aspiration that no child should live in poverty, will the government be supporting the Greens' Caring for Single Parents bill to be introduced today, providing for an additional $40 a week increase in payments for single parents on Newstart, and increasing the income test, allowing single parents to earn more before their payments are reduced?
The Minister.
Well, thank you, Mr President. Well, in relation to the legislation, I suspect Senator Milne knows what the government's position is on that. And I'd remind, I was partway through reminding the Senate of the tax reforms this government has put in place, which benefit low-income Australians. All Australians were earning up to $80,000 a year. Australians who are on, particularly Australians who are part-time workers, the majority of whom are women, who are benefited by this government's tripling of the tax-free threshold. I'd also remind the chamber that is to be repealed should Tony Abbott ever become Prime Minister.
Order. You
So
need
the
to
first-
refer to people in the other place by their
Mr Abbott,
correct
should he
title.
ever become Prime Minister, this says something about his values. His priority is to increase taxes on low-paid Australians. That's his priority. Well, it's not nonsense, Senator Abetz. Mr Hockey has already announced that. You might not have it might have passed you by in shadow cabinet,
Order.
but that's actually your policy.
Order. Time's expired. Order. Senator Milne.
Thank you, Mr President. Look, given the obvious division within the Labor caucus on this issue, with members of the party like Senator Cameron attempting to show a caring side of a government that's refusing to stand up to the mining companies to pay a decent amount so we can meet welfare payments, is the minister aware of any other Labor senators, in addition to Senator Cameron, who are prepared to cross the floor to put their words into actions to support the Greens' bill to increase Newstart by $50 a week and reverse the cuts to single parents made by Howard's
Order.
welfare
Time's
to work
expired
laws?
for answering the question. The minister can only answer that question in so much as it pertains to the portfolios. Minister.
Well, Mr President, I suspect from that question someone might be of the view that Senator Milne was more interested in posturing than actually getting an outcome. But that's obviously a matter of opinion.
That's hard.
What I would say is this. People in the Labor caucus have strong views on issues of fairness. That's because we are a party at its core that is concerned with fairness and opportunity. And there are always robust policy debates inside the Labor Party on how best to achieve that. But those are our values, and in government what we have delivered is a tax system and economy which rewards far more people who are earning at the lower and middle income level rather than those at the higher income level. Now, we've been accused of class warfare by the other side. The other side have said, this is dreadful. Well, I think it's fairness, and I think it's Labor values.
For answering the questions.